Welcome to Created Healthy. I'm Dawn Combs. It's a common idea that God gave us everything we need in nature, but do we believe it enough to walk that out in truth? Often the very same people who say this go looking for answers on how to use food and medicine from man-made sources. Everything man creates comes with a user's manual. Why would God be any different? I challenge you to join me in seeking revelation about our body, mind, soul, and spirit health by digging into His written word and in practicing pure science in the visible world of His creation. Because every house has to have a foundation, it was laid strongly on my heart to start this podcast with a daily series. I am using the book, The Bible in 52 Weeks, which you can buy for men or for women. I invite you to read along with me. This morning, I'm reading Genesis 22 through 25. 22 starts with a really controversial story, the story where Abraham takes Isaac into the mountains for a sacrifice to God, and Isaac is supposed to be the sacrifice. As I read it, I thought that's going to be the thing that I'm most going to want to talk about, but I was surprised. So, going on from Isaac's story there, we also read about the death and burial of Sarah. It goes through Abraham's sending out a servant to find a bride for Isaac and eventually finding Rebekah amongst his relatives. It goes through the story of Isaac's marriage to Rebekah, Abraham's death, and Ishmael's return to help Isaac bury their father. And then it comes to Isaac's sons being born and the story over the birthright. Interestingly enough, I really felt this birthright story being placed on my heart to talk about. First, I have to just mention with Isaac's offering, I don't think a lot of people know that at the time that Abraham would have been taking Isaac up the mountain, his neighbors were sacrificing their children pretty routinely to what they considered to be their local gods, all of these gods that we'll see repeatedly brought up throughout the Old Testament that our real God, the God of Abraham, was proving to his followers that all of these other gods were false gods and demanding that they step away from them and destroy them. These other gods demanded child sacrifice. They demanded you to give up your children. It might have been different to sacrifice your only child, and here we see sort of those precursors to what is going to come out of the line of Abraham, and that is Jesus. But it wouldn't have been as odd as we think it is. For Abraham to start up the mountain with a God asking him to sacrifice his child would have been painful, but it would have seemed somewhat normal. But God obviously says, that is not what I am about. I am not about child sacrifice. I am about human life. And human life is very important. And this rings true again and again in the Bible. But here is one of those very first instances of God saying, I am different. You are not to sacrifice or kill other human life. So I had to talk about that because it's something that I've studied in the past. And again, I thought that's where I would be focusing. But I really started to get curious about Esau and Jacob. So Esau is actually the firstborn. And in this tradition, in the culture at the time, Esau would have immediately inherited the birthright. So we're going to talk about birthright and blessing. And that's what stood out to me, to grab all of my other Bible resources, to look up what is happening. What does birthright mean? What was it really meaning in the original text, in the original language? whenever I have a question like that, something sticks out, I want to go all the way back and really understand what this all means. So we've got a difference between birthright and blessing, which happens, the blessing is going to happen in other readings here, but we're introduced to the birthright here in chapter 25. Esau comes in. Esau is big and manly and hairy, and he goes out and he does all these manly things. He deals with animals, and he's good with his hands. And then we have Jacob, who is more effeminate and quiet and peaceful. And Jacob is preferred by his mother, and Esau is preferred by his father, which is something to delve into about the sinfulness of preferencing one child over another and what it creates. But Esau was born first. He has the access to the birthright. Birthright here really means head of household. It is the person, in this case, that would be inheriting the covenant, that the special covenant that God has made with this family. It would be the person that has this right and this amazing access to God. Esau didn't take it very seriously. Whether he was lazy, whether he didn't take his role as head of household very seriously or as a privilege, we'd have to assume here. But head of household not only comes with privileges, it also comes with great responsibility. So he is looking at this long-term benefit that he immediately got and takes for granted, and he's hungry. And Jacob is clever and has soup and says, hey, I'll let you have this soup for your instant gratification of your hunger, but you got to give me your birthright. So Esau says, absolutely, I'm hungry. I'm going to die anyway. It's a joke. He makes a joke out of it. If I don't give you up my birthright, sure thing, Jacob, you can have that. So one, he's not really taking his word very seriously, which goes back to do you really deserve the privilege of a birthright where you are the head of the household and hold this covenant? He also makes a joke of the birthright itself in this instance, and he gives it away. So I apply this to sort of our relationship here in the world. We have a birthright of being a child of God. We have a birthright of being healthy and being healing. I think one of our birthrights absolutely is a body that naturally heals itself when we treat it right. How often are people every day choosing to give up the work and the responsibility of the birthright of this healthy body? We've done it for centuries. We've given this away. We've made it a joke. We don't do the work to maintain it. And in return, we do not receive the blessing. Our birthright is a relationship as a steward of creation. It is a birthright to use the things that we're given in creation, and it takes a little more work to prepare that food, to grow the food, to process it right, to store it. It takes more work. We have given it up for the instant gratification. So, in other words, we can choose the stew and be forgiven and have that long-term goal and that foresight to see that our whole life is laid out in this blessing. Or we can give it up because we're tired and we want to grab something that's easy. We want to do something that makes us popular or is convenient, instead of focusing on that birthright. And we give this birthright of our health away every day. I pray that God blesses you today and brings you back to listen in tomorrow. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share with a friend. And I'm always interested in hearing what God is laying on your heart. So drop me a rating or review, or join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at Dawn Combs Really. As I dive into the practical applications of what God has in store for our health all around us in creation.